reinvigorated me into why that this is something that's so important in everyday.
Because critical thinking, say when we were kids, would be a lot different than what it is right now.
Critical thinking has always been something that has been front and center as I lead education, teaching. It's something that
This is Casey Keane, Principal of Explore Charter School, a dedicated leader shaping future-ready learners through equity, innovation and impact.
We would love to start. How did you end up here? And why did you put critical thinking as the most important piece? Hello, everyone. In a world where a bot can draft a passable essay in seconds, what's school for? Today, we get concrete about teaching reasoning, not regurgitation. Our guest, Casey Keane of Explore Charter School, has made critical thinking the center of institution. Casey, thanks for joining us. And
great
with,
to be here.
we would love to start. How did you end up here? And why did you put critical thinking as the most important piece?
Yeah, so critical thinking has always been something that has been front and center as I lead education, teaching. It's something that I have really been passionate about in my 12, 13 years of education. The reason being is because, when I was in school, there was so much just regurgitation and memorization, and it wasn't always the most exciting or the most fun. And so the best classes that I ever had were the ones in which my teachers really, really pushed us, and it was maybe sometimes uncomfortable uh, to really defend what your argument is, but it's what really pushed my thinking into the next level and made me want to be really truly become an educator, so that I could do that for on a much larger scale. So yeah, I that it's always been there for me. I think that AI has really pushed it and made it even more important because AI is overtaking a lot of the procedural things, and we are really at risk of it taking over completely if we don't set really strong guardrails for it and teach our teachers and our kids how to use it as a tool. And so I think now more than any other time, it is really just uh, reinvigorated me into why that this is something that's so important in everyday life. I don't think that it's changed, it's just sped up the importance of it.
And I'm going to ask you a little differently because critical thinking, say when we were kids, would be a lot different than what it is right now. What's the definition of it in an AI world? How do you would you put it across?
Critical thinking. Where I push my kids and teachers is they always must defend their thinking. And so they're not able to just produce something, an answer, and not be able to defend it. That's one of the biggest areas in which uh, kids who are or people who are really relying on AI so much that they're really failing at is that's great because it's very it's a great tool to use and can help you speed up a lot of things. But if you're not taking a step back and being able to defend what your argument is, that you're not able to really push the critical thinking there.
If you have to put AI or one of those things for your board or for your parents out there, that this is the
Mhm.
metric which proves that my kids have critical thinking, or this is what I think would relate to it, because it's critical thinking somehow, and for a lot of people also comes under human skills and soft skills and uh, non-measurable skills, unfortunately. So how would you put it on a slide? How do you show that, hey, my kids have this?
Yeah, I mean, I would show the percentage of kids who can demonstrate reasoning and source verification in their work. And that comes through explaining the work that they've done. If it's a math problem, they can explain how they've gotten to that answer. If it's a research project, they can explain their sources, their verification, their reasoning through why their argument is their argument. And that's the skill gap. Stanford did some research that showed 2/3 of students couldn't tell an ad from a real news, and 96% of them never even checked the source. So that was really, really alarming for me. And a lot of times we really focus on test scores, and that's an indicator of how successful our school is. But that is not true evidence that students are learning to think critically and navigate all the misinformation. And I think with everything going on in the world, there's so much misinformation out there. And so it's such an important thing to press and to show parents that we are pushing kids to really verify what they're reading, pushing their thinking, all of those things. And that's the most important skill.
When you say this about misinformation, one of the things that we did ourselves, and it was basically a game which was built by MIT Research Lab folks. All PhD students came together, built a game out in back in 23 when Biden was the president, and it was still a different era, where it just shows you to be unethical. Essentially, you had to be a news mogul, and how do you become an unethical news mogul? So the game was designed that you will not proceed without all three options are unethical. So essentially, no matter how you do it, it just shows how easy it was to spread fake news, spread the game's called fake news. If you search it, you will find it. It's one of those things which we did professional development with teachers. Almost every teacher hated it because it was unethical. But we said that's the exact reason why we need to understand that how quickly the information spreads when it's unethical versus when it's ethical. Because we like more things for the eyeballs than liking things for ourselves. So,
Yeah. No,
so
absolutely. Absolutely. It's so incredibly important. Things are changing so quickly now, and I think kids consume and adults consume so much information. And how do you sift through all of it? And how are you inquisitive enough to really push yourself of saying, is that something that's true, untrue? How do I know? Why do I care? Why does it matter?
yeah, absolutely. I think why does it matter? Even changing the way that we question things makes a lot of difference, right? And
Yeah.
that because when you look at from a critical thinking lens, how do you train your teachers? Because I think teachers play a super important role when they have to move beyond asking what and when questions, which are asked in your state standardized testing, versus how and why questions, the ones which ignite reasoning, ignites thinking, because those won't be asked in the state standard test.
Exactly. So our big North Star is we use Bloom's taxonomy when it comes to planning and execution. And so we push when our teachers are going through the lesson plans and we're planning with them, there are so many of the what happened in this story question, right? Which are just recall questions. You can just look and read and boom, it's a right there question. There's no thinking really that goes into it. And so I push my teachers to move that to why did the character make that choice and what evidence supports your view? Um, and under that pushes the kids to understand the character's motivation, what they know about a character. And so they're having to put all of these things together. And what comes out of that is a much more rich discussion. And so we really root our planning, all of everything that we do, our curriculum, everything is rooted in Bloom's taxonomy. It just makes the classroom so much more engaging, and kids are able to have disagreements with each other and debates and really push each other's thinking. It's not just the teacher that's doing it. And so when we our teachers are building out their lessons and all of that, that is again, that is our North Star. It is our DNA. behind our instruction. So we really steer clear of the what and when questions. Anybody can do that. Who cares? Um, that's not very interesting to me. And so I want to understand that kids know the motivations behind things. One of the things I always push the kids to do as well when we're thinking about, uh, we do a lot of work in informational texts, right? That's something that I push really hard. And the reason being is because getting back at that misinformation piece is every author who writes something, whether it be fiction, nonfiction, has a point of view about the subject.
Yeah.
And they use certain words, ideas, phrases, that are pieces of evidence that push along their point of view of that topic. And so what I always push the kids to do is say, well, talk to me about, number one, what is the author's point of view? Why do you think that they wrote this? What did they want you to know? What did they want you to think? Great. If they thought the exact opposite of that, what would that look like? What evidence would they use? What would that sound like? And that pushes a kid to understand at a much deeper level, the ways in which arguments are crafted and how the misinformation or just information can come about in the first place. But there's always a motivation behind why someone writes something or shares something. And I really want kids to understand that. And so that gets back at, again, the Bloom's taxonomy is you're not just uh, reading off information and then repeating it, but you're digesting it. And then you're not only that, but you're creating a different argument from that. One of the things we use AI to do, which I love, when we did this for a specific unit in one of our reading classes, where uh, we had kids use AI or Chat GPT to come up with a counter argument. And so that forced the kids to really defend their own argument and pick it apart and to analyze what their own argument was. But we used it as more of a counterintuitive like tool to be a debate partner, but really push their thinking uh, around why is my argument valid? What are my sources? And so all of this gets it to the away from the what and the when and pushes the how, the why. Why is it important? Uh, and what is people's motivations behind sharing this information?
And I'm guessing the students you're talking about here would be middle school students.
Yep, my middle schoolers. But at the same time, so I was also a principal previously of an elementary school, right? And it doesn't just start middle school. It starts the second kids come into the building in kindergarten. You are constantly pushing their thinking. There are certain skills like um, in kindergarten through second grade, you're learning how to read.
Yeah.
And beyond that, you're reading to learn and not learning how to read. And so, but that push of critical thinking comes from the very beginning. You're always asking kids, well, why will that always work? um does that make sense? All of these things. And so yes, I'm a middle school principal and I've taught middle school, uh but it starts at the very beginning.
So, and I'm going to take you back to two different points. So, your last answer had two very good points, which I want to discuss. The first is when anyone walks into your, Explore Charter tomorrow, I'm guessing they will see the kids discussing the reasons behind it, the why behind it, having a conversation about those things. Do you do it in a manner which translates this to parents or to the community? Do you show, does it come in a form of a project? Does it come in a form of how do you how does parents know, oh wow, my kids are in Explore Charter versus a public school district, and this is the reason why they have this?
Yeah, I mean, we're very much project-based learning. And so kids are working together in groups. We ended the year last year with a science fair, which we do every year. And kids work in groups together to come up with the idea, to come up with their claim and their evidence and all of that. And so there are projects that we produce, we are open door for parents, and so they're always welcome to come in. We do a curriculum night where parents come in. We do it several times a year so they can see exactly what a classroom looks like and what's expected of their kids. But the thing is too is that our kids are very outspoken. So the parents kind of know exactly what's going on in the school because of what happens at home. They're constantly questioning things. They're very inquisitive about things because that's what we push, and that's what we push them to do every single day. I rarely ever just say that if a kid makes a really strong claim, just go with it. No, no, no. I'm going to say, where's your evidence? I don't believe it. I'm not going to believe it until you prove it with evidence. And so that lives outside of the school building as well. And so parents will come to me sometimes agitated, and they're like, I just want my kid to sit down and do the work. And they're always wanting to read and ask questions and do all of these things. Like that's what we do. And this is why that it's important. So yeah, if somebody walked into our school building, they would see uh, a noisy learning environment. And uh, it is kids responding to each other, agreeing, disagreeing, respectfully always. But it is a very rigorous environment, and it's something that is so rooted in, I think, love and love of learning, is that we respect our kids so much that we know that they're capable of all of these amazing things and ideas. And it is a very disrespectful, honestly, to not do that for our kids and just ask them, well, what happens in the story where? To me, that's very disrespectful because what is my job here? My job is to really push you and to be a great inquisitive learner. And if I'm not doing that, what does that say that I feel about you as a student? And so yeah, it's palpable. You can feel it in the building. We are one of the only uh, schools in the city in my district that is not struggling with enrollment. Thankfully, we're very prominent in the community, and it's because we've been there so long and people trust us, and that they know if they send their kids to us that we are really going to push their thinking at every single level. And we're going to do it out of a place of really love and the fact that we know what they're capable of doing. And so I'm very proud of the work that we do every day. And again, I know we're focused, meant to be focusing so much on AI, but it goes hand in hand, the critical thinking as well with the AI, because you have to use it as a tool and not a substitute. But it's that foundation that we have, that why I'm not so worried about it. That AI has the potential to take over so many different things. But I think that we have, from the ground up, built such a strong foundation in a place of learning, in deep learning, that I'm optimistic about it in my school environment. And so yeah, which is why I'm also just very passionate about it as well, because I think that there's so many things in which we can do with AI to use it.
I think almost every good educator needs to be passionate because that's the only reason we are in this job because it is a tough job.
Yeah, if you're not passionate about it, I don't know what you're doing, because the money's not that great and the hours are long, but we're potentially changing people's lives every day, and that's pretty powerful.
It is. And I think you mentioned it two times now in different form factors. Is that how you guys use AI in terms of counterintuitive ways? You used the reading example that you took, and just a very different thought out example of how AI is being used. So my first question is, how did you convince teachers to understand and adapt that? Do you have a computer science teacher who went in and learned something, or it was a STEM teacher, or does all teachers across the school know what AI is and knows how to use ChatGPT, Gemini, or Open anything, right? Like there are 200 tools.
all of my teachers, this is the thing. I don't treat it like it is taboo, right? It is out there. People are going to use it. I use it, right? And it's very transparent. And we're also transparent with the kids about that as well. It is a fantastic tool. But there are a lot of limitations that go along with it. And so I don't shy away from that. I think that it is a way in which, especially with teachers and in their planning, so whether it be reading, whether it be social studies, math, science, debate, it's a starting point. It's a tool that they can use to really push their lessons and maybe create some ideas that they hadn't thought of before. And so a lot of the teachers, and again, I don't discourage it at all, use it to help them when they are creating their lesson plans. Now, again, there's so many limitations with it because ChatGPT doesn't know our kids. It is a large language model, right? That pulls from all these different things, but it's not human, and it can't cater lessons to our specific kids. And so I don't discourage it. I think that one of the really fantastic things that it has been able to do is, one, it frees up a lot of time that teachers would otherwise spend on just the processes of going through things, of creating lesson plans and doing all of that. And then it allows teachers to spend more time on differentiation and how that they are going to cater their lessons to specific kids to help them. Uh, how are they going to really push the thinking even more? And so it kind of does all of that, puts that grunt work, um, and speeds it up. And so one of the tools that we've used in the past is, and we still use, is there is a illiteracy epidemic in this country, not just this country, but everywhere. And so uh, we really struggled with having the kids push the kids thinking on the same level, but meet them where they are in terms of where they are with their reading level. And
Yeah.
that doesn't mean we are making lessons simpler, but what we're doing is we are still sticking with the same content, but again, we're still pushing the same questioning, that same thinking, that same rigor. But what ChatGPT has been able, not ChatGPT, sorry, it's a different AI program that we use and or that we have used. We don't always use it, but we do when we need to. But it will take the same text and put it in a different reading level. And so we'll change a few different things with it. But again, the ideas are still there. And it helps so that we're still being able to push that critical thinking. And at the same time, have kids work with their small group instructor or the reading teacher, their sets teacher, and to get them on grade level for reading. But it removes that barrier that was there, in which that if they're not able to access, if they're in seventh grade and they're on a fourth grade reading level,
Yeah.
you constantly put seventh grade texts in front of them, what are they going to be able to get out of it, right? They still need to be able to have that same thinking experience of all of our kids, while at the same time getting the specialized instruction at a smaller level to get them on grade level, but it doesn't hold them back. And so I think that has been one of the really powerful ways in which we have used AI to help with those adjustments that would otherwise take a really long time to do. And then again, you're thinking about time. It's, well, then if you're spending this much time on this thing, then it takes time away from something else you could be spending it on, and making the lessons more rigorous, and more engaging. So that has been a huge game changer. And so we're constantly looking for things in which we can leverage that assist us doing that without taking out the thinking work that we want the teachers to be doing.
Did you do a professional development for your teachers? How did that happen?
Around AI,
Yeah.
well, it started with this, like, all right, what guardrails are we going to set? How are we going to use this? You can't ignore it, right? Um, and so we came to as a school, came to a consensus of like, this is how we're going to use this as a tool. And so how are we going to then train each other and work with each other? It's not, I don't think it's necessarily a formal PD that we do, but we do have planning meetings every week in which so all of my math teachers will meet on Wednesdays, for instance, after school, and you're sharing best practices and you're planning with that. Now you're in sixth, seventh, or eighth grade teacher, but the resources can be the same of like, I found this great thing, let's use this, how can we leverage this? And so I don't know, we haven't had any formal PD around it other than here's how we're going to use it. Here are our guidelines, and here's what we're going to set for our school while maintaining our North Star, which is that critical thinking piece and that push. But how are we going to use AI as a tool? And so coming up and agreeing on that is where we started from. But again, we don't have any formal. Now, if there is an amazing platform where we feel like we should have that, absolutely. Where we want to train everybody in and all of that, but we have not gotten there yet. It's been more of an informal thing so far.
So what's the one guardrail that you guys all agreed on to have?
That kids can use it as a tool. It's a starting off point and it is not a end point. And so what that means is that if their kids are interested in doing a research topic on something and they have a general idea, but they're not really sure about all of the different components and different things, they can put it into Chat GPT and it can produce something and pop it out, right? And so what that means is that you can use it along the way as a tool, but the guardrail is that you have to show evidence that along the way you are doing the work yourself. And so that is the piece that is required from all kids. And so that also requires of us pushing kids more to explain themselves of why. They have to be able to back up any argument that they make. That's great if you can push out, a 3-page paper in 30 seconds, but do you know what the argument is? Do you know how to defend it? Do you know how to do all of those things? And so if you can't, that's a problem. So those are the guardrails that we put there. We don't shy away from it. We are very open and honest with kids because I think if you try to say no, you cannot use it at all, that's a big mistake as well, because kids are going to figure out how to use it. They're going to get around it, and so we're very open and honest, and we explain to kids of the importance of this is a very effective tool that you can use, but here's why you need to be doing the thinking work that's important. And so those are our guardrails. Again, I don't have anything that is crystal clear, but we do have it, down is part of our structure. But that's really basically it. Kids you need to be able to prove your thinking and back up your arguments.
What about in terms of an AI literacy curriculum? Do you guys have thought of something on the AI literacy? How do you can use ChatGPT for the basic stuff, but I think there's beyond that too, right? Like you build projects out of it, you build so much, there's so much that can be involved on it. Have you thought of including it for the middle school, or like or you're still just using it for the regular subjects and then thinking about it?
Yeah, it's that's a great question, and we haven't yet. We haven't gotten to a point where we are going to use it, where we are going to incorporate it as an AI literacy class. It's very interesting. I think that it probably would be very helpful for us to do that, and because I think it is technology is it's speeding up so quickly, is we can say all of these things, and these are our ways in which we go about where we push kids and our expectations of kids. But I do think that there is a point where we need to be more formal about it, which at this point we have not at my school. It's just been more of like, we're sticking to the critical thinking. We're doing what we're always doing. We're using this as a tool. But I do feel like that is something that is going to come up where we would like to incorporate that into our curriculum because it is going to have a very large impact. And so, how do we navigate that? And what are we teaching kids on how to use it specifically? Because I think that is something that is going to be important that we could potentially incorporate into our curriculum over the next year or two, if not sooner.
Yeah. I think the only reason why I asked that was because, amongst everything, the President Trump has also passed an executive order for AI literacy curriculum to be in schools for
Hmm.
students. So it's a
Yeah,
conversation to be had on how do we do that, or like,
yeah.
or it's just always great to understand, right? Like, and you guys are fairly forward-minded and adaptive to what's happening.
Yeah. I mean, he signs a lot of executive orders without any like really deep thought into it. It's like, great, go do it. Okay. But
Oh,
and that's the thing is like, if we're going to do it, I really want to think deeply about how we're going to do it. I'm not a huge fan of just throwing things out there. And so that's why I say I wouldn't want to do this overnight. But really put some thought into how what we want that to look like in our school.
all right. One of the other things which we had, right? Like, and it's a different question. What do you think is the primary role? Let's look at the future and imagine 10 years from now. What would be the primary role of a human teachers in this AI world where there's an AGI which is there? So there's a artificial intelligence which is as smart as a human, and there's also a human. How would you see, the school transform or look like?
Yeah, I mean, well, it worries me. It really does. I know it worries a lot of teachers as well, because there is such a push towards it taking over the classroom, whether intentionally or unintentionally. And so I see it as you can't replace a human. Right? You cannot replace a teacher. Thinking about if I am thinking about the best teachers that I've ever had in my life that really created that love of learning and curiosity in my life. It's someone who had a lot of empathy, who had accountability, and who really pushed me to do that thinking. And that doesn't come through with AI. And so they can't get it from it's something that kids can't get from a machine. And the teachers are coaches, they're curators of curiosity. Um, they push resilience, right? Is that accountability factor there that AI is just not capable of doing. And so without that, you're going to go into some kids may still continue to do it, right? Just to be curious because they're curious and that's just their nature. Um, but I think without it, you're going to have a lot of kids doing very procedural things that are really, you're not doing a lot of the thinking work and all of that. Because if a machine is like, you didn't do that right, well, okay, so what? Right? Whereas if you have a human being and a teacher, it is you really want to work with this teacher. A teacher should be somebody again who has that empathy, that push, that love that is there. And so that's where I definitely see it working hand in hand. But again, you're not going to be able to do it without the human aspect. You're not we could get there. I mean, we could create some type of just proceduralist society that just kind of we're all drones and not doing any of the really thinking, but that's not what we want. And that's what some people want for us, uh, which is why, again, it's so incredibly important that we are doing this work. But yeah, you're never going to be able to replace an amazing teacher. Nothing can replace it.
I 100% agree with you. I think human skills durable skills, soft skills, whatever you want to call it. Those are the skills which makes us human. We're called social beings for a reason. So that social element is what is sticks us together. Maybe AI can help us learn better, but it will not replace it might help us do maths better, but it cannot replace how do we deal with emotions? How do we handle that? How do we look at failure? How do we look at fear?
I mean, I think one of the coolest things is that AI speeds up a lot of the grunt work, right?
Yeah.
And so it leaves you with more time to do the fun stuff. And so that's what's so exciting for me. It's like, great, we don't have to spend an hour uh putting together this worksheet or whatever, where we can then instead spend that time of really making this a very rich lesson of like, how are we really going to push that? So I think that's the exciting piece for me. And so again, it's made my life in a lot of ways much more efficient. So and left that I feel like I am, with those guardrails, I'm a better educator. I'm able to be a better educator um, with using it to take a lot of that, the processes and other things that you have to do on a day-to-day basis, that's kind of taken care of for the most part for you, and that leaves a lot of the time to do, again, the fun stuff. So I'm excited about that piece.
Same here. I think till the time we take it as a tool and just a tool, I think we would be in good hands.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It was a wonderful conversation to be had. We're so grateful to hear more about your school and understand how it works.
Thank you. It was great being here.
Thanks for tuning in. For more information about TomoClub, visit TomoClub or follow us on our socials. Stay curious, keep learning, and we'll